So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to pose some questions to mis amigos, and you grab the hat, or the cap, rather, of the team that you want to answer with. If you think an answer should be the Philadelphia Eagles, put the Eagles cap on, guys. Here we go. Grab the cap, all 32, of the NFL team that needs to make the biggest acquisition in free agency. We're doing splash talk. Right? Not the Lou Gaines, I mean the big splash. Nate, you're out early. Who's going to make a splash in free agency?
I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins. Well, listen, they have the capital, right? So if you have that much money in cap space, then how about you go out there and make some moves? It can be wide receiver. You can go Devontae Parker and Amari Cooper. How about that combination, right? You can get a good nickname. You can park the coop. You feel me?
Park the coop. That's easy to do, too.
Yeah, exactly. Get Derrick Henry. What if you get Derrick Henry and then you end up getting Tua? Then you got Tua and Henry. That's a great combination. Two very mobile, athletic guys in your backfield. And lastly, if you're going to go defense side of the ball, Xavier Howard, Byron Jones. Just think about those two athletic guys at the cornerback position. So they can make a splash in many different ways, and they have the money to do it.
Oof. Okay.
MJ, he took your hat.
He did take my hat, but
it's okay.
I'm going to go. First of all, none of these hats are going to fit over Angela, but we're going to make it work.
Okay.
That was cool.
A little bit. Woo! Tilt. No, I can't make any sudden movements. I'm going with the Raiders. Obviously, this is a team who is not afraid to make a big move in free agency. We saw everything that they did last year, despite how it all ended with Antonio Brown and a couple other guys that they brought in. They go for it, and they're fearless in that aspect. Going to a new city. They're going to Las Vegas now. They need to continue to build on this team, as Coach Gruden has said several times. I think they're going to go for it again and try to bring in another big name. They have several spots to fill on defense. Wide receiver, of course, they still need to do so. So I'd love to see them make another huge splash, get me another hat that perhaps will fit my head.
Okay, I like that.
It's funny, we might see a literal splash at the draft. Because it's in a body of water. Yeah, someone's going to do it, right?
Sure.
Peter, who's your splash? What do you got?
I want to go actually very literal, the word biggest, because if I'm the Jets, I'm looking at that offensive line, and it was an atrocity last year. And if I'm Joe Douglas, a former offensive lineman at the University of Richmond, and in his first general manager's offseason with the Jets, I am protecting Sam Darnold. So I'm looking at all of those offensive linemen who are free agents, and I might sign one, I might sign two, I might sign three, and then I might go draft a couple also. They are in that dire need of offensive line help. Kelvin Beacham's a free agent. He's probably not going to be back. I would look at the Jets, and I would look for them to acquire not one, but multiple offensive linemen to help protect Sam Darnold. Biggest splash. Well, maybe not the biggest splash as far as headlines go, but biggest splash as far as the biggest bodies going in the pool.
And their GM, Big Joe's a pretty big guy, too.
Pretty big guy.
He's getting after it. Let's do another splash. Let's talk about quarterbacks. Peter, name any platform diver ever other than Greg Louganis. Ever.
I got nothing for you.
Thornton Mellon?
Thornton Mellon. Loved him in Back to School.
Loved it. Jason Statham used to be a diver, too. You can use it.
Right?
It's crazy. Whether in free agency or the draft, guys, grab the cap of the team. We'll make the biggest splash with a quarterback. Who is changing the quarterback room in the biggest way? I'm going to start with P. Schrags this time, who's searching for the hat. It's part of the charm of this segment. Take your cap, Peter.
Let's go to Tampa. I feel like Jameis Winston has been there 5 years. I feel like they know what they're getting in Jameis, and they might want to explore other options. The name that keeps coming up is Teddy Bridgewater, and I am fascinated if that's the mix, because whereas Jameis has this big arm, a cannon for an arm, and plays it loose and says, let's go for it, he is no risk it, no biscuit, which is what Bruce Arians' motto is.
Right.
Teddy Bridgewater is not that quarterback. Bridgewater wins games, but Bridgewater's not going to rip the ball for 500 yards passing or throw the ball 80 yards and just say, throw caution to the wind. Fascinated by the philosophies and fascinated by the decision they have to make, because it is not a done deal that Jameis will not be back. There's still a chance he is back. I can't wait to see how it plays out over the next 2 weeks. Buccaneers, fascinated what they're going to do.
You think more conservative with Bridgewater? The biscuit thing is out the window?
Doesn't that seem like it doesn't make sense? And yet everything you hear is that Bridgewater to Tampa makes a lot of noise.
Sometimes the biscuit's a little limp, as they say. What do you got, Nate? Who's made the biggest splash with a quarterback?
I love that. You talked about fascinating. You mentioned the word biscuit. I'm thinking about Trubisky and Teddy Bridgewater.
All right, go on, man.
And I came up with the nickname Teddy Bare Necessities, because that's what they need. The bare necessities for the Chicago Bears is that they need a quarterback that is willing to go out there and throw the ball around, but won't lose you the game. For what we've seen out of Mitchell Trubisky, he's good. Is he great? Is he the face of the franchise? I'm not sure that there's a resounding yes coming out of Chicago. So just like Teddy Ruxpin, all you got to do is put the tape in, and you're going to see exactly what Teddy Bridgewater did last year, going 5-0 when Drew Brees is down. You want to talk about pressure? Teddy Bridgewater came in and dealt with the pressure, and not only proved to himself that he can play in this league and be a starter, but to the rest of the league. I feel like pushing Mitchell Trubisky will give you one of two things. It would either prove him to be the guy for the job in Chicago, or It'll be a situation like last year with Ryan Tannehill and Mariota, where Ryan Tannehill said, I got this. This is my team.
Do you think if you're Teddy and you're a free agent, you had this 5-0 year with the Saints, that you would go somewhere where they have a former number 2 overall pick and you have to still fight for the job and do the whole Tannehill thing? Or does Teddy want to go there and be number 1?
If you're confident knowing that you can take his position, and then you know that you'll be surrounded by top-tier talent, think about the pieces that they have. If Teddy Bridgewater can go there and beat out Mitchell Trubisky, and he's the man for the job in 2021,
they got some good players.
That is a ready-made offense. We're talking Super Bowl ready.
Bears GM Ryan Pace at the Combine, his buzzword over and over was just competition, competition, competition.
That's it.
Every Mitch question, competition, that's kind of what you're talking about. And you weren't a kid in the late 80s if you didn't take Teddy Ruxpin and put a 2 Live Crew tape inside.
Talk about it.
Talk about it. What do you got?
Don't
MJ?
stop.
Splash at the quarterback position.
Who have we been talking about all morning long, you guys?
Get into it.
I'm going with the Patriots because whether Tom Brady stays or Tom Brady goes, this is going to be a huge deal. If Tom Brady stays, they're going for number 7, like you mentioned. That's going to continue the dynasty. If he goes, who's going to fill his spot? Is Stidham going to step up?
Right.
Who are they going to bring into Bridget? I mean, that's going to be, you're going to continue to hear this at the breakfast table. Spoiler alert for all of you guys.
Someone else to say
I'm going with the Patriots. I think that's going to be the biggest quarterback news of the season.
You're right. You're right.
MJ, your hat is like in the next room. It's so far.
I mean, my hair is so big, I don't even understand.
Looks great.
How
It's wearing it like T.I. wears his hat.
Yes.
To the side.
All right, we got time for one more. We're bound to see some big changes over the next weeks and months. So, guys, grab the cap of the team. It's very simple. That will look completely different by training camp. The full Jennifer Grey. Just a fully different look when they show up for a training camp.
About the Renee Zellweger?
Hey, she won an Oscar. Who's laughing now? What do you got, guys? Who's going to look the most different?
Was you wearing this hat, Kyle?
Of course I was. Yes, I go with a single hinge.
Last snap. It's like a handshake at the very end.
Do, man. We don't do handshakes anymore, Nick.
All right, you're right about that. All right, I'm going to go with the New York Jets. Well, listen.
That's the Giants.
Sorry, New York Giants.
All right,
They're going to look that different.
You're right about that. I'm going with the New York Giants' new head coach, right? He comes in, Joe Judge. He says it's a clean slate for everybody. I'm not going to say guys' name. I'm going to do it the old school way.
Big fan of it.
So you have a new head coach. You have a new quarterback.
Yeah.
You have new wide receivers. Let's not forget last year, Golden Tate was out the first 4 games. Sterling Shepard was banged up. The tight end Ingram was banged up. Saquon's going to be back, hopefully rejuvenated. Oh, and not to mention, they have the 4th pick overall. So think about the New York Giants and how different they're going to look this upcoming season. And you know what? They'll have a chance once again to hit the reset button, get everybody excited in New York, and go after that NFC East.
Out of respect to Joe Judge, I'd actually ask you never to name those players by name again.
Yeah, you're right.
Thank you. That's it. Just say,
I didn't hear it.
They have a quarterback, they have a running back. You don't say their names. I am going to go with the Miami Dolphins. You look at what they've got. 7 picks in the first 4 rounds. They've got the 5, the 18, and a pick in the 20s. They've got the most cap space in the NFL. MJ, you talked about it earlier in the show. This is the offseason. You have this rough season last year in which you actually won some games, but you have the coach, you have a GM people like in Chris Greer, and you've got the money to spend in the picks. I can't wait to see the Dolphins next year. I don't know what they're going to look like. They might have Tua, they might not. Fitzpatrick might be enough, but I know they will have some new pieces. Dolphins, I'm excited to see them.
That's a good answer.
Good. All right, I'm going to go with where we just were for the Combine, Indianapolis.
Okay.
I'm going to try doing it on this side.
Okay.
See if that works. Balance it out just a little bit. These guys have so much room to play with. They have $86.2 million. Teamwork. $86.2 million in cap space. That is a lot of money. And 4 picks in the first 3 rounds of the draft, and plenty of holes to fill on that roster to continue to rebuild this team. The Colts are going to be complete. We're going to have to headshots. I'm going to need all the headshots, all the bios for all the guys that they're bringing in. So the Colts, I think, will have a completely revamped facelift.
Nate is the Quentin Nelson of whatever they're